Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om
Namo
Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Samsara sagare magnam dinam mam karunanide karma grahya grihi tangam mam utpava bhavamava. Srimad Bhagavata kyoyam prataksha krishna evahi svikritosi mayanartha muktyartham bhavasagare. Manorate madhiyoyam sapala salvadatvaya nilvigne naiva kartavyam tasoham tavakeshava. Bhave bhave yatha bhakti padayostava chayate tatha kurushva devesha natastvam no yatha prabhu. Nama sankirtanam yasha Sarva papa pranashanam pranamo tukashamanastam namami harim param. Chammadasha yatombayat yitaratas chalteshva vigyasvarat tene brahma hridaya arikavaye muhyanti suraya. Tejo vari mridam yatha vinimayo yatra trisalgo mrisha dhamna svena sada nirasta kuakam satyam param dhimahi. Dharma projita kaitabuttara paramo nilmasaranam satam vedyam bhastavam attaravastu shivatam tapatrayon mullanam. Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kimba Pare Ishvaraha Satyo Hritya Bharuta Tetra Kritvi Shushubhish Tarshanat Digama Kalpatoro Kalitam Palam Shukamukat Amutadravasanyutam Pibada Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rashika Bhubi Bhavukaha Sachidananda Rupaya Vishvo Patyadi Hetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Sri Krishnaya Bhayam Numaha Yam Pravrajantam Anupeta Apeta Kritam Dvipayanu Pirahakatara Ajvahava Putreti Tammaya Taravo Vinedus Tam Salvabhuta Hridayam Munim Anatosmi Yasvanubhavam Akila Shrutisaramekam Adhyatma Deepam Aditir Satam Tamontam Samsarinam Karunayaha Purana Guhyam Tam Vyasasunu Kurum Muninam Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Uriraye Kamaniya Kishora Mukta Multe Kalavenu Kubanita Drita Nanendoho Mamavachi Vijrimbitam Murare Madurimna Kanikapi Kapi Kapi Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nilveshesha Sunyavadi Pachasha Deshatarine Pande Nanda Braja Strinam Padarenum Abhishnasha Yasam Harigatu Gitam Punati Bhuvanatrayam Sri Gopi Charana Ravinda Paramanave Namaha Pitambaram Karavi Rajita Chakrashankam Kaumodaki Sarasijam Karunaha Samudram Radha Sahayamiti Sundara Mandahasam Patalayesha Manisham Hridi Bhavayami Komalam Kodayambenum Shamaloyam Kumaraka Vedavedya Parambrahma Basatam Prato Mama Bukam Karoti Bhachalam Pangum Langayate Grim Yakripa tamaham bande paramananda madhavam. Salvatra Govinda nama sankirtanam Govinda Govinda. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Very well. Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Patanjali Prabhu. Welcome everyone, all the Srimad Bhagavatam group. We humbly just welcoming you for coming and attending the class, today's class. We're really thankful to you to give us the opportunity to serve you. And we're going to start with Vijaya Lakshmi for doing a summary here. During the class, if any one of us make any mistake, please do forgive us. As we just try our best to serve you in the best possible way. Thank you very much. I will.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. This is the this is the summary of last time's class.
Yeah.
Satyam Param Dhimahi means you must meditate on the absolute truth and not the relative truth. The absolute truth is Vasudeva Krishna, and we must all seek and understand him. Krishna is omnipotent, omnipresent. He is present everywhere. And his potency is the same everywhere. For example, the deity at home and the deity in the temple, it has the same potency. We as jivas have these opulences in part, but Krishna has them in totality. The absolute truth is present in everything, even in the heart of an atom. No one is equal to or more than Krishna. He is the cause of causes. He is not bound by time, and he is not bound by space. Not bound by space in the sense, like, for example, Krishna was present as a person, individual person with each of his wives in Dwarka. We are part and parcels of Krishna, the absolute truth. So we have his divine qualities. But because we want to enjoy independent of Krishna, we have demoniac qualities too. Therefore, we have divine perception as well as a demoniac perception to life. By reading the Srimad Bhagvatam and studying it, we learn to love Krishna, we learn devotion to Krishna, and also learn how to perceive life from Krishna's point of view, the divine point of view. If we follow this, then we get stability in our life, we have good relationships, tranquility, and peace. Definition of peace as per Jesus, who's the Shakti Avesh avatar of Krishna. He defined peace as have less rather than more, always seek to be the last rather than the first, seek the will of others rather than your own will. In all things, learn to accept the will of God. Normally, we all don't have the same perception. For example, a rope and a snake look the same. Some perceive it as a rope and some perceive it as a snake. Focusing on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 23, we learn from the story of Avanti Brahman how one should tolerate the disturbances and offenses created by evil persons. The harsh words of uncouth persons pierce the heart even more severely than arrows from a bow. But a devotee of the Lord must tolerate any personal insult. Personal insult. This is where we have to emphasize personal insult, because he should not tolerate offense against the Lord himself or the Lord's pure devotees. Srila Bhakti Saraswati Thakur comments that when a devotee is attacked by impious people, it is actually due to the cumulative results of one's past karma. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore instructs that one should become as tolerant as a tree. Also, one should be intelligent enough to avoid future unhappiness by rejecting the ethic of an eye to an eye and a tooth for a tooth. If one refuses to enter into the enmity with envious men, they will automatically leave him alone, sooner or later. To illustrate this fact, we have the story of a Brahmin from the country called Avanti. Krishna illustrates the story to Uddhava. In the country of Avanti, there once lived a certain Brahmin who was very rich and gifted with all opulences and was engaged in business. But he was a miserly person. He was lusty, greedy, and very prone to anger. He never treated anyone properly, even his own family people. He never allowed them to enjoy luxury, nor did he enjoy luxury himself. He was that miserly. He was not only stingy towards others, but also towards himself too. He would protect his wealth like a yaksha. Yaksha is a demon without a body who has no good destination in this world or the next. Because of this behavior, his family could not enjoy the wealth, and they soon started to becoming inimical towards him and lost affection for him. His home was devoid of religiosity and lawful sense gratification. Religiosity means when we are born, we are indebted to the demigods for all the material comforts that we get in this world. So the presiding five family sacrifices became, deities of the five family sacrifices became angry, and till there we had talked, and then Patanjali Prabhu will talk about the Pancha Mahayagna and further thing about Avantipura. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Vijayashmi. It was wonderful summary from the last class, as you do every week. Wonderful, really beautiful. Thank you. Can I just please request Julie Mataji to unmute yourself and say the Dima story? And please kindly just try to finish it within 5 minutes so we can start with the Patanjali Muni Prabhu can start the class. Very good. Julie Mataji, are you on? Hare Krishna.
Yeah, she's there.
She's
Maybe
there,
she asked unmute Mataji.
I did. I requested her already twice.
Oh yeah.
Hare Krishna.
Hi, Bhajali Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, can we just try to do minimum minutes now because we're already a little bit late for class. Thank you. Thank you.
Right. And the story about King Kamsa made many failed attempts to kill Krishna on his life. He then summoned demon Aghasura to the most feared of by even the heavenly denizens to kill Krishna, his thousands Kumaras, who were fearless gopis on the fives. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, Aghasura represents evilness, lack of compassion for others, inner hatred with tendency to harass others, intolerance, inability to tolerate others' behavior and ideas, violence, tendency to commit violence unto others. He was consumed with anger and revenge for the killing of his two younger siblings, Putana and Bakasura, and readily agreed with great determination to kill Krishna, all his gopis, their calves, and the residents of Vrindavan. Sage Sukadev Goswami said to King Parishit, demons are expert in achieving all kinds of mystic powers, so Aghasura assumed the form of a great fierce python and expanded himself by the yogic siddhis Mahima to the length of 8 miles and grew as high as a mountain. Upon seeing the gopis having fun, he was consumed with envy and impatience. As he laid in waiting with his mouth widely opened, the gopis mistakenly took it for a mountain cavern and curiously entered to investigate. Soon after, Krishna came to their rescue by entering Aghasura's mouth and strangling Aghasura to death. The demons were overjoyed and threw flowers and confetti like confetti from the sky. Aghasura, the most sinful living entity, was not entitled to merge into the existence of the absolute truth. But in this particular case, because Krishna entered into Aghasura's body, the demon became fully cleansed of all sinful reactions. Sukadev Goswami said that this incident will never be reenacted in this universe for more than 8.5 billion years. And even then, Aghasura may not be back, but someone else will, and there will be more killings and more flowers. So what does the killing of Aghasura tells us? Bhakti Vinod Thakur, father of Bhakti Siddhanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada's guru, writes in Chaitanya Shiksha Amrita, the essence of, sorry, my thing is playing out, 1 minute. The essence of this story is about demons which Krishna kills, and explaining that anantas are the essence, because ananta is bad, negative qualities, impurities, obstacles that reside within us, preventing us from attaining pure love for Radha and Krishna. Whereas demons killed by Balaram represent anarthas, the bad, evil qualities, qualities that we need to make an endeavor to eradicate. It's in the Srimad Bhagvatam, chapter 10. Right, the symbolic significance of killing Aghasura. How can anantas, false, negative, bad qualities that resides within us be removed? These undesirable impurities and demonic qualities must be completely uprooted from the core of our hearts. Krishna definitely helps, but we need to make an endeavor to rid them. Only pure devotees of Krishna can live eternally in Vrindavan, blissfully serving the divine couple. And pure devotion can only be attained through reading all the different pastime stories of Krishna and develop Krishna consciousness. Improve our cultivation of bhajana, meaning the hearing, chanting, meditating on these pastimes of Lord Krishna, who helps us progress in our bhakti. Developing love by crying out and surrendering through humility and sincerity to Lord Krishna. Krishna approves that which comes from your heart. So in this way, Sri Krishna himself will remove all these evil demonic qualities, and immortality will confidently be assumed. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Julie Mataji. It was very much enlightening story. The way you explained was wonderful. Thank you very much for your own efforts and time for enlightening us with the Aghasura story. Now I'm going to welcome to Patanjali Muni Prabhu. All the classes over to you now. Hare Krishna. Haribol to Patanjali Muni Prabhu. Please welcome. Haribol.
Haribol. Haribol. Haribol.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we are still on Bhagavatam first canto, first chapter, text 1, Satyam Param Dhimai. So in order to understand better Satyam Param Dhimahi, the meditating on the absolute truth. So in order to understand Satyam, so we will go through 11th canto, 23rd chapter. So before we go on 23rd chapter, let's talk about Satyam Param Dhimahi little bit, and then we'll understand why we are going through chapter 23 of 11th canto. So in 7th canto, we know the story of Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad Maharaji and Lord Nrsimhadev. Hiranyakashipu asked Prahlad, sending Gurukul in those days, as you know, that Prahlad Maharaj came home, and then as a loving father, he asked the son, so what you have learned, what you have learned the best in your school? And then Prahlad says that Krishna is the supreme. And then Hiranyakashipu is thinking something wrong. No, the supreme is me. So I'm giving you all the facilities. I conquered all the demigods, so everybody is under me. So no one is supreme. I'm the supreme. And then Prahlad Maharaj says, no. Actually, Krishna is the supreme. And then Hiranyakashipu is saying, no, I cannot see Krishna. No, you got it wrong. So in this way, their argument build up, and then finally, Hiranyakashipu is saying that, where is Krishna? Krishna is nowhere. So then Prahlad Maharaj is saying, no, Krishna is now and here. So when you see God is nowhere, when you write this sentence, God is nowhere, the same sentence, if you read differently, then the move W to near the no. So that the God is now here. So that's the Prahlad Maharaj's perception. So when you look at God is nowhere, then you cannot see the God. That's your perception. But the same thing, Prahlad Maharaj saw God is now here. So look at this sentence. There is no change of alphabet. There is no addition of new alphabet. There is no emission of any alphabet. So Prahlad Maharaj didn't drop any letter. He looked at in different way. So this is power of the perception, the change of perception. So power is that Prahlad Maharaj moved the W into another side. So as you know, Microsoft Windows, Bill Gates, when he developed a new computer programming system of Windows, he got this idea from one of temple in Tibet, Buddhist temple. And then he asked a question that how come the people in the temple, they just moving, the wheels, which is which has the Buddhist inscription inside. So what is it? Why they are turning that the wheel in the temple? And then the one of the senior monks said that actually that each the letter represent the window of spiritual world. So even though they cannot read, by touching that script, so actually they open the vision of spiritual world. So in this way, Bill Gates developed the insight that this is a window, is something that opened a new perception. So he applied into his computer programming, so that he became one of the richest men in the world at some point. So again, in order to understand the Satyam Param Dhimai, which is Krishna's presence everywhere, if we recognize Krishna's presence everywhere, then we have to recognize the demon's presence everywhere also. That's why we studying Bhagvatam demon story in 10th canto. In Krishna Lila, Krishna kills many demons. Why? Because demon itself is very much present here. But if we don't recognize the demon's presence, then actually we are influenced by the demon, but still we are not realizing it, and then still under control of the demons. So for example, Bhutana, we discussed already that Bhutana represent the pseudo guru or pseudo leader, so-called many leaders in our society, but they are, although they look good on us, but they may be leading us in wrong path. Sakatasura is again representing that wrong habit which we have, or lethargy in our day-to-day life. So Sakatasura is none other than our bad habits. So when we recognize our own bad habit, then we have to know how to work on this bad habit and develop good habit. So we discussed Pakasura the other day, the last week, I think. And then Pakasura is duplicity in us, deceptiveness. So that if someone is duplicitous, then we should keep away from them. We have to be careful about that person's association. Today, Agasura. So Agasura is lack of compassion, Mataji said, and cruelty and violence. So we sometimes, if we become cruel or violent, or if we don't develop any compassion, but actually we are demonstrating ourselves the demoniac quality. So this we have to very much recognize in our day-to-day life. This is why we are doing this Srimad Bhagavatam class. And also, this class may be different from other class. The reason is all other class may give you better explanation of Srimad Bhagavatam and a better explanation of all the Shastra and a better presentation of different stories in very sometimes very elaborate way, sometimes very humorous way, so that they attract your attention very much. But this class will be different, a bit different from those classes is that again and again, I try to encourage you, put whatever you learn into your own practice and day-to-day life here and now, so that all the Bhagavatam can be manifest in your day-to-day life. So this is the aim of this Bhagavatam class. So, for example, if you look at Bhagavata in 16th chapter, Gita 16th chapter, the second verse, it starts with Ahimsa Satyam Akroda Tyaga Shanti. So here, Shanti, it comes after Ahimsa Satyam Akroda Tyaga Shanti. So if you develop Tyaga, the detachment or renunciation in life, then Shanti will come. So last week we discussed disciple of Lord Jesus asking how to get peace. So that Jesus says that principle is simple. Desire less, and also listen to your own wishes, listen to someone else's wishes. In this way, all the teachings is boiled down to the very simple statement in Bhagavata and Srimad Bhagavatam. So in this way, we trying to, whatever we learn here, so trying to let us put our in our day-to-day life, so that ultimately nowadays the conception of happiness is comfort and security in life. There is a conception of happiness, but Vedic conception of happiness is a bit different. What is that? There is a Shanti. So Bhagavad earlier on, it says, Ashantasya Kuta Sukham. So without Shanti, there is no Sukha. So Shanti is the prime aspect of Vedic teachings. Then how do we get Shanti? Actually, technically, it's coming from Tyaga, renunciation. So this renunciation, why renunciation is important? Why this renunciation ultimately leading us to understand the bhakti is explained this 23rd chapter in the Bhikshu Gita. So in the Bhikshu Gita, I'll explain a little bit of background of it. In the background, it says that, do you have this slide with you, which I sent earlier on? Or shall I share the screen share? Okay, let me share maybe screen share so that everybody, for those who doesn't have. So anyone can read the screen, the Bhagavatam 3rd canto, chapter 4, text 6. Can,
Yes, Prabhu.
yeah. Can you read the verse on the screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Whose turn is it for reading?
Can I read, please?
Yes, go ahead, Mataji.
Okay. Thus following, I saw my patron and master, Lord Sri Krishna, sitting alone and deeply thinking, taking shelter on the bank of the river Saraswati, although he is the shelter of the goddess of fortune.
Okay, yeah, of the first verse first. So in earlier on third canto, Krishna explains about teachings to Uddhava. So third canto begins Vidura and Uddhava discussion. So there, Vidura, as you know, Mahabharata war, trying to advise Dhritarashtra not to have war, but Dhritarashtra didn't listen his advice, and then Duryodhana actually engaged his servant to beat his own uncle. So he didn't want to get involved with the whole horrible warfare. So he left his own pilgrimage. So during pilgrimage, one night he met Uddhava, and then as soon as he saw Uddhava, he was curious about the Krishna at that time news. So what happened to Krishna? How is Krishna? And then the discussion developed. There, Uddhava is explaining about Krishna's teachings. So when Krishna before left this material world, so he arranged that all the relatives leave first. So they went to one picnic, all the descendants of Vrishni, they went to picnic, and then they had a somehow quarrel, and then all of them died. So after that instant, Krishna went to the river Sarasvati sitting alone, and then he was deeply thinking. And then Uddhava knew that Krishna also was going to leave soon. So there, between Krishna and Uddhava, the last conversation happens. So that in that last conversation, this Bhikshuk Gita is included. That's why this Bhikshuk Gita is a very specific teachings from Krishna that just before leave this material world. So then Krishna is saying to Uddhava, before he speaks about the Bhikshuk Gita, and the next verse, please.
Vinod Prabhu, please, Haribo.
Yeah. Uddhava, in the lotus millennium, in the days of yore, at the beginning of the creation, I spoke unto Brahma, who is situated on the lotus that grows out of my navel, about my transcendental glories, which the great sages describe as Srimad Bhagvatam.
So Krishna explains about how this, right in the beginning, Krishna himself spoke Srimad Bhagvatam, and then within this Bhagavatam, actually Krishna's key teachings for us to go back to him. And then the question arises, then why Uddhava? So why Uddhava is specially chosen? Everybody went back, but Uddhava was left behind in this material world. So Parishik Maharaj was curious. So next verse, please.
Please, Vinod Prabhu. Yeah, Haribo.
The king inquired at the end of the pastimes of the Lord at the three worlds, Sri Krishna, and after the disappearance of the members of the Vrishni and Bhoja dynasties, who were the best of the great commanders, why did Uddhava alone remain?
Thank you.
And then Krishna answered this, because Uddhava is none different from me. Because Uddhava had association with me for 120 years. So Uddhava knows the best. So he chose Uddhava. So next verse, please.
Balakrishna Prabhu, Haribo.
Uddhava is not inferior to me in any way, because he is never affected by the modes of material nature. Therefore, he may remain in this world in order to disseminate specific knowledge of the personality of Godhead.
Thank you, Haribo.
So Uddhava was chosen to give specific transcendental knowledge of Krishna to for this material world. So in this way, Uddhava is one of the most devoted Krishna's associate, at the same time most intelligent. So again, 11th canto earlier on, Krishna described Uddhava as a Buddhi Sattama, the most intelligent person. So this Uddhava raised a question that how we tolerate insult. There are many offenses, but one of offenses, insult is very difficult to tolerate. So how do we tolerate this insult? So to explain this insult, how to tolerate this insult, So we are studying 23rd chapter. So we discussed up to text 9 last week. So we'll go through.
Yeah.
From text 10. So who? Okay, I'll read a
Sanskrit.
translation.
No, you're reading Sanskrit, right?
I mean, I'll read the Sanskrit, yes, and then you
Yeah.
read the translation. Okay.
Thank you
So,
very much.
okay. Tat avadhyana vishrasta punya skandasya bhurida altopi agachan nidanam bahva yasa parishramaha.
Okay, Balakrishna Prabhu, translation 10.
And okay. O magnanimous Uddhava, by his neglect of these demigods, he depleted his stock of piety and all his wealth. The accumulation of his repeated exhaustive endeavors was totally lost.
So here, very interesting. By neglect of these demigods. So what are the demigods? The previous verse, it says Pancha Bhagini, Pancha Bhaginaha, actually. So in previous verse, they are presiding deities of 5 yagya. So Pancha Bhaginaha. So we discussed what are the Pancha yagya. So Deva yagya, Pitri yagya, Rishi yagya, Manusha yagya, and Bhuta yagya. So each individual yagya has individual presiding deities, but due to being stingy, so this Brahmana did none of these yagyas. So naturally, these people these deities are upset. But this is quite a different concept that why then we at all worship this, we have to perform this Panchayagya. So that is explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Still, can you read the screen?
Yeah, there is a screen. Is the Vendu Madhuri Mataji? Can you please unmute yourself? Haribol. Okay, next one is Oma. Can you unmute yourself, Oma, please? And which screen do you want to read? Sorry.
Mataji, you stop share screen because I need to show this screen.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
So I can't see the screen, Prabhuji.
Okay, let me show you this screen. Can you see?
No. Reason for Panchayagya. Yeah, now it is coming, yes.
Yeah. The reason of Panchayagya, yeah.
Yeah. So shall I read the verse also?
Yeah, read the translation, yeah.
Translation only, okay?
Yeah.
If a person gives up all material desires and completely engages in the transcendental loving service of Krishna as enjoined in the revealed scriptures, he is never inducted to the demigods, sages, or forefathers.
So in this verse, in the purport, the Prabhupada explains about the importance of Panchayagya. So next verse.
Okay.
So next one.
After birth, every man is inducted in so many ways. He is inducted to the demigods for their supplying necessities like air, light, and water. When one takes advantage of the Vedic literature, one becomes inducted to great sages like Vyasadeva, Narada, Devala, and Asita. When one takes birth in a particular family, he becomes inducted to his forefathers. We are even inducted to common living entities like cows, from whom we take milk. Because we accept service from so many animals, we become inducted.
Oh, thank you, Haribol.
So this is a fundamental reason of why we do Panchayagya. So as soon as we take a birth, knowingly, unknowingly, actually we are in the help of all other people or nature. So here it says the indebted. So when we are born, we think my own ability we are born, but it's not, because there is an arrangement between mother and father. This mother and father has as a mother and father. So in this way, there is the family trees. So looks like we are alone, but we are never alone. So we belong to this family tree. So naturally, due to their presence, actually we exist in this material world. So in this way, there is an element of the forefathers of their help for our existence. So in other sense, that for example, if we mistreat our parents or our children, not only the relationship doesn't end only our parents or children, actually this upsets our forefathers also. Let's say if we don't treat our children nicely, then it doesn't end me. That mistreatment actually affecting our forefathers. That's why we have duty of care for our children. So they are there not just because of us, because the forefathers there also. They are looking at their descendants also. So as we are born, whether we admit or not, we have inherited this duty and responsibility for our forefathers. The same as, for example, when you look at outside sun and moon and then wind, so without their existence, we cannot breathe and we cannot grow, we cannot eat anything. So naturally, we are indebted to them. So for example, we use electricity, so we pay the bill for electricity. If we use water, pay for the bill for the water also. But what about this nature? We cannot take everything for granted. So this is a Vedic concept. So that all these devatas looking after this nature. So we are indebted to them also. So air, light, water. So in this way, we have that in Sanskrit called the Rinam. So Deva Rinam. So we have Rinam, the debt for the devatas, debt for forefathers. And also we have debt for the sadhu sages, rishis also. So these holy scriptures, if Vyasadeva didn't write, we wouldn't have it. Although it was existing, but we don't have ability to remember. So that if we wasn't written form, then we wouldn't have this Bhagavatam with us. So, and also within this scripture, there are many personalities appears. So Narada Muni teaching different instructions, and then Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, all different devotees. Knowingly, unknowingly, we are indebted to them also. What about the Buddha, other living entity? For example, let's say there is a bee. So there was one survey showing that if a bee disappears on the planet, then half shelves of the supermarket will disappear. All product has to do with the bee because their pollination makes food grow. So in this way, there are certain need of so-called insect. In our eyes, they are insignificant, but in the nature's eyes, there is a reason for them to be there. So this is even a mosquito. So I heard that America now, what they do is they genetically modified mosquito, they grow in the lab and then they're releasing to the nature. So that these mosquitoes, somehow they disturbing their system so that they don't produce their descendants, so that they want to get rid of the mosquitoes. But now people are worried that this mosquito disappears, although it's harmful for us, but those who eating mosquitoes, their food chain, it gets broken, so that eventually it affects growth of food. So there are pros and cons, but even the mosquito, it may disturbing us, but there is a reason for existence of mosquito. In this way, all the Buddhas, all the living entities, they have their role in the society, in nature. So we are also indebted to them also. So if we individually cannot repay their service, then at least we have to pay the person who in charge of these old Buddhas. That's why we do Buddha Yagya. But for us, for the devotee, Krishna arranged it in such a way that we don't need to do individual worship. Why? Because following our daily sadhana, all these 5 worship is included. So here, next verse.
Yeah. Oma, Hare Krishna, Oma, can you unmute yourself, please?
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, please.
One who has given up all material duties and taken full shelter at the lotus feet of Mukunda, who gives shelter to all, is not indebted to the demigods, great sages, ordinary living beings, relatives, friends, mankind, or even his forefathers who have passed away.
So it's not that this doesn't mean that we shouldn't do it. This means that through the process of worshiping Krishna, all other worship is included. So that's why last week class, we discussed that by just the following morning program, all the 5 worship, 5 Panchayagya is included. For example, first of all, we offer incense and flowers to Krishna. After offering, we go around the circle. So we offer everything. So which means we offer to other demigods, we offer to our ancestor also. And also sometimes we do prasadam distribution, and also we do harinam. So all the living entity hear the Krishna's holy name. So this is also can be part of Buddha Yagya. And also Manusha Yagya, Atiti Yagya, Nri Yagya, it's all one word. So that by inviting the devotee, sometimes we have a home program. This is actually looks like it's just a simple home program, but in the scripture's eyes, actually this is Manusha Yagya or Atiti Yagya. So you are worshiping not only other human being, and also you are worshiping the rishis also. So now we are discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. So you are involved in the reading of these verses. So reading these verses itself, what is this? This is Rishi Yagya. Out of Pancha Yagya, it is a part of Rishi Yagya and also Deva Yagya also. So within our program, Prabhupada included in such a way that all the 5 Yagya can be included. So that's why it's in line with these Bhagavatam verses. This is Lord Rishabhadev teachings to his sons. So that the Deva Rishi, Bhuta Apta, Nrinam, Pitrinam, Nakinkaro, Nayam, Rina, Na, Rini, Cha, Rajan. Salvatmana, Ya, Sharanam, Sharanyam, Gato, Mukundam, Parihitya, Parihritya, Kaltam. So Mukunda, so the worship of Krishna, by doing so, and all other worship is included. So, but this Avanti Brahmana, he didn't do none of these things. That's why he is a Punya Skanda. So accumulation of Punya is slowly diminished. In other words, if you help others, if you contribute anything towards society, toward the community, and towards some cause, actually you are helping yourself. For example, some neighbors have difficulties. If you help your neighbors, actually you are helping yourself. So why? Number one, you do yagya, you are paying debt in a different way. You are not indebted to them directly, but by helping them, actually you are paying part of your debt. And also by helping just your neighbors, simple. Either you say good morning, or you just sometimes when you cook something, you cook some extra, when you share some food, then that activity itself is creating your own punya. So if you have a punya, then next life also you won't get poor, or you won't get the heavy life, happiness in your life. So in this way, always remember, helping others actually is helping yourself. So through the Avanti Brahmana story, so actually we are indirectly learning this. So now let's move on the next verse.
Yeah. Oh, please again. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay, let me read the Sanskrit.
Okay, I have to share the screen, Prabhuji, so you have to. Yeah, okay. Yeah, ready.
Okay, 11, yeah?
Yeah, 11, please.
Nyato jagri, okay, let me get the tune. Nyato jagrihi kinchit kinchit dashava uttava daivata kalata kinchit brahma bandul nuri partivat.
Okay, Uma, Haribo.
Some of the wealth of this so-called Brahmana was taken away by his relatives, my dear Uddhava. Some by thieves, some by the whims of providence, some by the effects of time, some by ordinary men, and some by government authorities.
Thank you.
Because he didn't repay his debt, so his punya was taken away. So the interesting way it was taken away. So nyataya, some by the relatives, nyataya, jigrihu, it was taken away, kinchit, some. So kinchit, dashava. Dashava means the thieves. Someone taken away by thieves, and also something taken away by daivata, providence, which means there was some fire. So uncaused, there was we don't know how it happened. So some of his property got on fire, so he got lost. And also kinchit kalataha, so by due to some time arrangement. And also partibat. So he says partibat is government officials, which means tax or some government officials that are asking for bribes, etc., etc. So in this way, little by little, by all different sources, his wealth was taken away. But here, Bhagavatam describes that Brahma Bandhu. So Brahma Bandhu is that, the Brahmana Bandhu means so-called Brahmana, Prabhupada translate. So friend, literal meaning is the friend of Brahmana, which means there are two meanings. Those who are born in Brahman family, but they don't have Brahminical quality, it's called Brahmana Bandhu, Brahma Bandhu. Another meaning is that they may not have Brahminical quality, but at least they invited the Brahmana in their house, they make apprenticeship with the Brahmana. And this is called Brahma Bandhu. So it is important to know that Brahminical quality also. So as you know, Brahminical quality is explained in Bhagavata in the 18th chapter. That Shama, Dhamma, Tapa, Socham, Shanti, Arjavam, Evacha. Jnanam, Vijnanam, Astikyam, Brahma, Karma, Svabhavajam. So peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are natural qualities by which Brahmanas work. So those who have this quality are called Brahmana, but Avanti Brahmana is Brahma Bandhu. So he is Brahmana, but and yet, unfortunately, he didn't have these qualities of Brahmana. So now let's move on. Next.
Yeah, is it that you want to do the same screen, Prabhuji, or you want to share the other screen?
So now you can share your screen.
Yeah, it is already on then. Yeah.
Okay.
Alright, the next one is the Pravita. Are you online, Pravita? Or Madhu Prabhu?
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
Okay.
yes, please, yeah.
Okay, I read it. Saevam dravinena shte dharma karma vivarjitaha upekshtacha svarajanai chintam apa dhuratyayam.
Okay.
Finally, when his property was completely lost, he who never engaged in religiosity or sense enjoyment became ignored by his family members. Thus he began to feel unbearable anxiety.
So now is he is started to having a difficulty in life because due to loss of all this property, his wealth, and then once he losing his property, and then his family members, and then they also start to living too. Tashevam dhayato dhilgam nashto rayas tapasvinaha kidyato bhashpa kantasya nirveda sumahan abut.
Please, Pravita. Yeah.
Having lost all his wealth, he felt great pain and lamentation. His throat choked up with tears, and he meditated for a long time on his fortune. Then a powerful feeling of renunciation came over him.
Thank you.
So here, interestingly, so he started to have dilgam, long dhyayata, long meditation, due to nashta raya. So you know the nashta. I think you are familiar with this word nashta. Nashta pareshu abadreshu nityam bhavatam sevaya. So by constant bhavatam seva, constantly reading, and then constant hearing of this bhavatam, nashta pareshu abadreshu. Abadra means badra means auspiciousness. Abadra inauspiciousness. All inauspiciousness nashta there goes away. But for this Brahmana, what went away? Nashta Raya. All his wealth is went away. So Nashta. So when his wealth, Raya Nashta, went away, he became thoughtful. So that the Dilgam, he ultimately he became practicing the meditation. And then he feels tapasvina. So naturally he became somehow tapasvi. So tapas has another meaning. One is performing austerity, another means having a pain. So experiencing great pain. So while experiencing great pain, so he's experiencing also kidyataha, is lamenting also. So such a way he's lamenting, his throat is choked with tears. Bhashpa kantyas. So Krishna describing this story in such a graphic way to Uddhava. And then it says, Mahan, great, Sumahan, great, Nilveda Abud. Nilveda means the feeling of renunciation came up. So this is quite interesting. So that after such a terrible loss and then pain, somehow deep down, he has a feeling of the renunciation. And then let's move on to next verse. Sacha hedam aho kashtam britatma menu tapitaha nadharmasya nakamaya yashaltha yasha idrishaha. Next verse.
Pravita Bhattaji, Haribo.
The Brahmana spoke as follows. Oh, what great misfortune! I have simply tormented myself uselessly, struggling so hard for money that was not even intended for religiosity or material enjoyment.
Good to hear Premila Mataji voice. Hare Krishna, long time no hear Mataji.
Yeah, she's going to say the other one as well.
Yeah. Okay, so here it says, now Brahmana is speaking. So I simply tormented myself uselessly. So he's saying that now he's regretting, na dharma, na kamaya. So I didn't do any proper dharma. I didn't perform any dharma. I just, and also I didn't enjoy myself either. So what kind of life I was carrying? So, but I was thinking, and so you may think also, but somehow this Brahmana, one good thing is that he didn't harm anyone. He was just stingy. He's not spending money. He's just constantly accumulating. He didn't worship all these demigods, all this. He didn't do all the panchayagya. He didn't do any duty, and yet, by his luck, he didn't harm anyone. So maybe because of that, he may got this great renunciation came in his heart, which act such a positive way in his life. So let me read the next. Prayena alta kadalyanam na sukhaya kadachana ihacha atmopatyapaya vritasya narakayacha.
Okay. Generally, the wealth of misers never allows them any happiness in this life. It causes their self-torment, and even when they die, it sends them to hell. Thank you.
So this is thank you, Mataji. This is the destination of yaksha vritta. Those who have money, but if they don't know how to utilize it properly of that wealth, so not only allows them happiness within this life, so it doesn't allow happiness in next life. So in order to have wealth, it takes a great endeavor, but at the same time, it's not easy to accumulate wealth, but even more difficult to actually utilize the wealth properly. So the Bhagavatam teaches through this Brahmana story indirectly. So if you have wealth, you should know how to utilize that wealth properly. It says here. So now, next verse. Yasho yasashvinam shuttam slagya ye guninam gunaha loba sva alpo pitanhanti svitro rupam ibepsitam.
Pinky Mataji, Haribo.
Hare Krishna. Whatever pure fame is possessed by the famous, and whatever praiseworthy qualities are found in the virtuous, are destroyed by even a small amount of greed. Just as one's attractive physical beauty is ruined by a trace of white leprosy.
Haribo. You can read next one as well, please, later.
Okay, here, Sva Alpha. So Svarpa, I'm sure you're familiar with the Svarpa Punyavatam Rajan Vishvasho Naiva Jayate. So before Prasadam, we already sing this song. Svarpa Punyavatam Rajan Vishvasho Naiva Jayate. This is Svarpa Punyam. The little bit of Punyam leading to Vishvasho Naiva Jayate will not take you birth this material world again. So this is the greatness of Prasadam. But here, Avanti Brahmana, he didn't do Svarpa Api, he didn't do even little, what you call, the good thing in his life. So even the small amount of Yasashvinam Shuttam, so the small amount of misdeed it causes great damage in the fame. So here, Yasho Yasasibinam. And also there is small amount of anything. For example, it gives the example of here, beautiful persons of white leprosy. It ruins the beauty. So even there is a small amount of impurity, it causes great difficulty in life. But this Brahmana did none of a good thing, so that there is a, in one sense, that's natural cause that why he losing everything. So let's move on to next. Altasha sadhane sitta utkalse lakshane vyahe nasho paboga ayasas trashas chinta brahmo nrinam.
Thank you, Mataji Haiba.
In the earning, attainment, increase, protection, expense, loss and enjoyment of wealth, all men experience great labor, fear, anxiety, and delusion. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
So here, interesting that wealth is very difficult to earn. It says, to earn wealth, he said here, sadhana. Can you see the sadhana? Altasha sadhana. So we have sadhana bhakti. So in order to increase our bhakti, so sadhana, we do regular practice. It's called sadhana. So in order to accumulate wealth, he does great sadhana. And then this sadhana involves is many experience of the difficulties. So he did all that to accumulate wealth, but unfortunately, this wealth didn't stay with him long. So let's move on next. So why this wealth accumulating wealth is not easy is that here it says that steyam himsa nritam Damba kama krodha samayo madaha bhedo bhairam avishvashaha samspalda vyasanani chaha ete panchadashalta hyalta bulla mata nrinam tasmat analtam altakyam shrey orti duratastyajet. Okay, read this verse.
Hari Mataji Haiba.
Hare Krishna. Theft, violence, speaking lies, duplicity, lust, anger, perplexity, pride, quarreling, enmity, faithlessness, envy, and the dangers caused by women, gambling, and intoxication are the 15 undesirable qualities that contaminate men because of greed and for wealth. Although these qualities are undesirable, men falsely ascribe value to them. One desiring to achieve the real benefit of life should therefore remain aloof from an undesirable material wealth.
So, Hare Krishna, Bhavin Mataji, good to hear from you. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
here also the side effect of earning the wealth. So theft is involved some form of another violence, speaking lies, duplicity, lust, anger, etc. So it's what an amazing analysis of the process of accumulating wealth. So even now, I'm sure you heard that recently the biggest bank also, they are involved with money laundering for different, what they call the crime organization. So these things always happen. So in this way, we have to be aware that there is wealth, but there is side effect also. So in one sense, in order to minimize this side effect, you got to be aware of. Sorry, someone is I think left the speaker on. We have to be aware of that the side effect of this wealth. Now next, Vidante Brataro Dharaha Pitra Suridastata Ekasnikta kakinina sadhya salve raya kritaha. Next, please.
Bhavini Mataji hai to. Hare Krishna Bhavini. Bhavini, Haribo. Okay. I just, 1 second. Even a man's brother's wife, parents, and a friend united with him in love will immediately break off their affectionate relationships and they become enemies over a single coin.
So here it says kakinina. Kakinina means, the translation is that small coin, but actually kakinina means a small amount. So by the small amount of the interest, so what happened was satya salve, here araya kritaha, they become enemy. So we can see the Mahabharata that Duryodhana was asked by Yudhishthira Maharaj, just we need only 5 villages, that's all. So we can avoid the war. So as a weak Kshatriya, we need to rule certain village so that you allow us, then you have whole kingdom. But Duryodhana's answer was that I cannot spare land for you to drive a pin through. So that was a Duryodhana's answer. So this is a typical example. So due to just a small amount, they immediately become araya, ari, the enemy. Araya means the plural, the enemies. They become enemy. How quickly? Satya, immediately. So for us, Satya means to develop Krishna consciousness, we should be Satya. Isvara Shatta Hriti Avaruttat Kritivi Shushrushvi Darshana. So Ishvaraha, Krishna is Satya Hriti Avaruttat, immediately established within our heart. Atra, here, right and now, Atra Shushrushvi Darshana, by the those who eager to hear of Krishna Katha. So for them, the Krishna is established within our heart, Satya, immediately. But for those who doesn't have this Krishna consciousness, for those who have only eager to have the material benefit, for them, if something goes wrong, something go against their interest, then Satya immediately salve, everyone becomes Arya, becomes enemy. Who are the everyone? It includes Bhratara, brothers. It includes Dhara, their own wives, and Pitara, their own parents, and also Suridaha, their own friends. All this becomes enemy. So this is, although is given explanation 5,000 years ago, still very much relevant in our current society. So that's why someone asked me that, can you give us some practical example, some practical things to apply in our day-to-day life? So my answer is that what is not practical in Srimad Bhagavatam? What is not practical instruction in Bhagavata? Everything is practical in day-to-day life, here and now. So here it says that, quite interesting, that any small amount, kakinina. So then we have to be careful in one sense how to deal with the people also. So for those who are close within the relatives, within amongst the circle, the small conflict of interest turn against you completely, which means you have to be ready in that kind of circumstances. So that's why here Bhagavatam is very practical for us. And then let's move on to next. Altenal nali piyasha hite samlapta dipta manyavaha tajantya asu suprito gunanti sahaso trishya souridam. Next translation, please.
Yes, please. Sipara Mataji, Haribol. Hare Krishna, Sipara Mataji. Okay, Chetna, can you unmute yourself, Chetna? Hare Krishna. Yeah, please. Can you read 31?
Even for even a small amount of money, these relatives and friends become very agitated, and their anger is inflamed. Acting as rivals, they quickly give up all sentiments of goodwill and will reject one at a moment's notice, even at the point of committing murder.
Haribol, thank you. I think, yeah, we done for the, then after this, we're going to have a question answer.
Yes. So after this, so let's have a question answer session. Here, interesting word. Out of all that, if you look at the last word, it's called Soridam. So Suridam means friend. Soridam means actual friendship. So when there is a conflict of interest, so our friendship also goes very quickly. This is the nature of material world. So through the Brahmana story, actually Krishna showing us the ephemeral nature of this material world. So one day friend can be easily enemy next day. So this is a reality. So that this is not just story in the Bhagavatam, actually story in our day-to-day life. So somehow if we have the same interest, we become friends. If the interest is different, it becomes enemy also. So in this way, this is quite truly a realistic statement by Krishna. So I'll end here. So I'll invite any question and comment, please.
Anyone who has a question or any comment, please kindly unmute yourself or raise your hand, please. That would be nice. Thank you. Okay, Sipara Mataji has unmuted herself. Yes, Hare Krishna, Sipara Mataji.
No, I accidentally, I think I did it.
Okay, that's fine. No problem. Is there any comment? Anyone would like to comment anything? Or Haribol? Yeah, there is a, sorry, one second. There is a Madhavi Mataji. Can you please, go ahead.
Yeah, Prabhuji, in this, in the background of Bhikshu Gita, in SB 3413, you said, oh, Uddhava, in the lotus millennium, in the days of Yog. What is that lotus millennium, Prabhuji?
The right beginning of creation.
So Brahma was born on the came out of the lotus, the stem of the lotus. So it is from that time onwards, is it?
Yes, when the Lord Brahma was seeking for the knowledge that why he was born and then what he is going to do, so he didn't know anything. So at that time, Krishna revealed his knowledge through his heart. Yeah.
Right. Oh, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, there's a Vinod Vihari Prabhu would like to say something. Hare
Krishna Prabhuji.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, in your last class, you were discussing that, like, if you compare Bhaktivedanta Mena and Radha Landaneshwara, that the Radha Landaneshwara is better than Bhaktivedanta. You are diminishing it. So in that way, if you got photographs of deities at home, so how should we treat them then?
Okay. So recently I received one interesting message that discussion between coronavirus and Krishna. So coronavirus saying to Krishna, hey Krishna, so I'm so powerful that I shut all the temple down so no one can come to you to take a darshan. And Krishna said to coronavirus, yes, you are powerful, but I turned all the house into temple.
Thank you.
So in this way,
Yeah, thank you.
I don't know who sent this message. I think you got the message.
Haribol. There is a Madhu Prabhu who would like to have a question. Yes, please go ahead, Haribol.
It's me, Pravita.
Oh, Pravita, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. While we were reading in text 18, I noticed among theft, greed, anger, and so on, I saw the words dangers caused by women. What does that mean?
This is through the relationship. For woman is man, for the man is for woman.
But women is always the source of danger.
Yeah, not only for women. So these are always described in that way, but actually, anytime when there is description regarding we have to be careful of woman, that's for the man. So when the woman reads, you have to read as to be careful of relationship with boys or men, like that.
At the beginning of Bhagvatam, I saw something like the lower caste, and then no comma, nothing, the lower caste women. I had that question in my head, are we inferior in any way, or is it, I don't know, or did I misunderstand? I'm talking about women in general.
So that's a very interesting question. So in general, there was sometimes the description in that way, but as you know, fundamental teachings regarding women in Upanishad it says Matru Devo Bhava. So all the women actually potentially mother. So all this mother is as equal as the God. This is the one way of seeing a woman. But there is another way of seeing a woman is that they are sometimes described as less intelligent or less or spiritual, etc., or lusty or whatever. But there is a particular context in that. We have to read it. So we cannot generalize. So according to what context is it described, so that we have to understand. So don't think that what you call Vedic scriptures is that basically undermining the presence or the value of the woman. So not in that way. So that according to the teachings of Prabhupada, always Prabhupada commented that in a way that go beyond the man and woman concept. Even if there is a certain type of description is there, but for us, we all trying to be devotee, we go beyond the conception of man and woman. So this is the proper teachings. Yeah.
Thank you, Patanjali Prabhu. It was very enlightening answer. Anyone else? Just the last few minutes left. If anybody would like to just have any realization or sharing the thanks message, please. And yeah, Bhavini Mataji would like to say something.
I'd just like to ask, you know, this question, this story that we're going through, the undesirable qualities that are listed there, the 15 undesirable qualities, which it also states in the translation that they, you know, are desirable perhaps in those in this day and age. So do you think it's best to have these qualities that are, you know, perceived as being desirable in today's times? Is it best to become aloof to all of these things and just stay in just below the net, so to speak?
You know, when we make when we roll the puri, we know it's going to be sticky or chapati. So what we do, roll the puri, so we put always oil on the, what you call the road, and the oil on our hand, so that it won't get sticky. So this description is there, so to point out the side effect. It doesn't mean that we should completely aloof or we should avoid it. No, it's not that. You have to deal with it, but in a way that minimize these side effects. You have to be aware of this side effect. People maybe ignore this side effect. Oh, I don't care. As long as I get wealth, I don't care this. But don't have this attitude. You care about this side effect, so you do in a way that minimize this side effect. So in a way that you minimize the conflict situation, you minimize the harming others, so that this is the main teachings. Krishna, when Arjuna was asked, so that if you truly for me to perform bhakti yoga or whatever, so better for me to leave this better. But Krishna says that no, rather than living better, you stay in the better and then you follow my instruction. So in that way, so that although wealth is described in one sense, a little bit negative way, but don't take this as a negative. So for example, now temple opened a new Haveli, new building. If donors didn't contribute, how could they have this new facilities? So in this way, we are living in the capital society. So we have to have this wealth, but at the same time, don't make this wealth as your priority in life. This is the fundamental teachings. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. I understand. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Rani Mataji. Okay, Bharat Prabhu, do you have any question? Okay, so we're just going to complete the class here, and please, I have a humble request. For the next week class, if anyone would be like to summarize for the today's class and the demon story for the next week, who is going to contribute, please, could you kindly just confirm yourself today or later on the group, please? Haribol, everyone can unmute themselves, and if anyone, please. Hare Krishna.
I really want to hear from one of you that I know you recognize Krishna expertly, but I want you to recognize a demon in your life, and then how you made your life, how you changed your life in a simple, different way, in practical way. It would be nice to hear your own experience. So for example, so yes, I used to watch TV for 4 hours a day, but now I cut it down to 2 hours a day.
That's
Something
really
like
wonderful.
that. Yeah, something like that. I want to hear a practical example so that that will inspire others also.
I agree. That's really wonderful. Yeah,
so
definitely.
It doesn't need to be something elaborate, something big. So I inspired so that I went to the preaching. I distributed 10 Bhagavatam set. Rather than this glorious statement, I would like to have something practical in your life. So that, okay, I start to, for me, demon is getting up late. So I used to get up 7 o'clock, but now I start to get up 6:30. Half an hour early, something like that.
Next with them, demon, his name is Dhenukasura. The next demon story would be the Dhenukasura. If anybody would like to speak on Dhenukasura next week, please. Also, just if everybody's unmute yourself, so we can just say 3 Haribol to Patanjali Muni Prabhu's wonderful
not
preaching.
necessary.
Yes, it is very important, please. Haribol, Haribol.
The next week, Dhenukasura is representing neglecting the spiritual knowledge, so that in your own day-to-day life, when you were neglecting all this instruction or spiritual teachings in Bhagavatam, so that out of so many instruction, you took only one thing a bit seriously, so that I try to apply into your own life. So in that way, I'd like to make this class a bit practical, so that here and now, you get certain benefit of this Sangha, this benefit of reading Srimad Bhagavatam. I want to hear right now. So in this way, slowly this change of heart has to take place. So one step at a time. So if this becomes our day-to-day life challenge, then other challenge becomes smaller. So don't leave a book, don't leave knowledge in the book. Take that knowledge into your own life. So there will be uniqueness of this class, because nowadays everything is available. If you go on YouTube, there are so many wonderful classes. You'll have that. But one thing you don't have is that interaction with the class. You may not. But here we have open ground that we can interact. So you can ask a question and then we can discuss together. So trying to utilize this forum so that you can get the maximum benefit out of this Bhagavatam discussion. So this I would like to request. So I hope some people who are willing to Manusha Yagya or Rishi Yagya for next class. So I hope.
That would be very nice. Yeah.
Okay then. Yeah. Okay.
Thank
I'll
you,
do.
Patanjali Muni Prabhu.
Okay.
Thank you very
I'll do
much. Thank you.
closing
Please accept
prayers.
our
And
humble
also,
obeisances.
Class.
Yeah. From
Sri
all
Haribo is
the
not
Sangatans.
necessary. Sri Haribo is not necessary, so that we.
No, it is. It is
No,
our
we.
humble respect to you, Patanjali Muni Prabhu. Definitely, you deserve more than that, because
So,
you
because I'm
enlighten
learning
so many
also
people.
that I'm exactly the same platform as you, so that I'm not different from you. So Haribo is not necessary. Just let us discuss Bhagavatam with more and regularly. Okay.
I do.
Okay. Om Salve Bhavantu Sukha Salve Santu
Niramaya
Salve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukhabhat Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tato Ma Samaya Amasto Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Jaya Sri Krishna
Krishna
Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda
Nityananda
Sri
Sri
Advaita
Advaita
Gadadara
Gadadara
Hari Gaura Bhakta Hare
Hare
Krishna Hare
Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare
Krishna
Hare Hare
Hare
Rama Hare
Hare
Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you.
Vanchakalpatarubhasya
Kripasimvacha
Patitanam
Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Namo
Namaha.
Okay, sorry, can I announce the next week? Can I please request Bhavini Mataji or Pramila Mataji to do summary? Is it okay or not? Bhavini Mataji or Pramila Mataji, any one of you can do summary for next class, next week?
Yes, I'll do.
Okay, that's fine. So Pramila Mataji will do the summary for next week. And then we have the story for the demon. Who would like to, Vendu Madhuri Mataji, would you like?
Not this time, maybe next.
Okay. So is it Rajeshri Mataji, would you like to do the demon story next week? Hare Krishna, Bhavini Mataji.
Okay, I'll do that one then. Okay.
Yeah, so next week, demon story, I'll leave it to you. So it only has to be 5 minutes maximum, please, if it's possible. It's short and sweet, we can keep it. That would be great. So wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare
Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna to
Prabhuji.
everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Patanjali Muni Prabhu, can we
Yeah.
stay for a minute here?